Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave from thedarkstuff.com and the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Back with a vinyl pickups video here for you. I've been holding on to some stuff for a while. I got a pretty decent sized stack that I want to show you, and I have listened to every single one, so this isn't some record video where I'm just going to show stuff and have no idea what's on it. This includes some record store pickups, a record fair pickup, and my most recent record store day experience. Before we get started, I'm just going to show one little CD. This is a vinyl video, I understand, but this is Attendant Anna and the album Principia? Sorry, I don't know. They're from France. I just discovered this album very, very recently. It's a 2023 video. I already did my best of the year, so I can't make it on there. The Vinyl Douche and the Vinyl Potato both talked about this artist, and I finally picked it up on CD, and it is exceptionally good. French indie rock, just saying. All right, first let's hit the record store day stuff. It was record store day, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving or so. I'm very, very tepid on getting excited about record store day. I was for the first couple of years because it was really cool to get all the old heads back in the store all at one time, and it felt kind of like the old days for a little bit. But of course, it's now completely been exploited by big labels and whatever, and it's not quite as exciting as it used to be. However, there are still a couple of good things that I wanted to get. First and foremost was this Screaming Trees record, live record. It's called Wrong Turn to Johannum, and it's actually them in a recording studio, Egg Studios, in 1991, just playing a bunch of tracks live. It's on this white vinyl. Now here's my complaint about it. It doesn't say which side is which anywhere. I can't see it. The white is so hard. If it's written in the grooves, I can't read it. And the hole is not big enough, and I had to jam it down on my turntable. And the first time it wouldn't even spin. It was on there so tight. So I had to then wiggle it back off, put it back on a couple of more times till it would finally play. Besides that, no big deal, but that seems like it's a minor defect. So the album is the band live in a studio in 1991. It is Dan Peters from Mudhoney and Nirvana on drums. They didn't have a drummer at the time, and I didn't realize this, but basically Screaming Trees had sort of ended, and one of the Connor brothers was playing with Dinosaur Jr., and they had someone else in, and they were trying out drummers, wasn't really working and whatever. Anyways, they got, I think it was Van Connor to come back to play bass with them, rejoined the band. They did this, and then the Screaming Trees went on for another couple of years. I listened to it. It is awesome. It's really, really good. I was able to get the Flaming Lips live 2002, this Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots era live. It's really an EP. I mean, they're calling it an album, but half of the songs are Wayne Coyne intros and him talking. So let me just say what it is. It's the Flaming Lips in 2002. Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots was their new album. They were touring as Beck's band, right? So in other words, the Flaming Lips would come on and be the opening act and do a set. Then Beck would come on, and they were Beck's band. Okay, so this was on a night where they weren't playing with Beck. This was in a smaller place, being, I think he had to win a contest from a radio station or something to get in there, and that's what this is from. The recordings are raw. It's very just real rudimentary, the way they captured the sound. Kind of reminds me of that Providing Needles for Your Balloons thing that the Lips did about 10 years prior to this, which was them doing a live record in a record store. Anyways, it is cool, but it is very limited. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs when you take out all of the lengthy intros. I mean, still, I'm glad I got it. It's on this cool pink vinyl. It's nice. Okay, and then the last thing that I picked up at Homer's for Record Store Day was this, and it was the Eric Carr Rockology picture disc. Now, this is a series of songs that Eric Carr and actually Bruce Kulick, who was Kiss's guitar player in the 80s, were working on and stuff before Eric died. Now, this stuff's been out for years. This is not the only iteration of this album to have come out. I got this because I've only heard it digitally. I never had a physical copy. This is a picture disc version of it. I don't think I'm going to probably play it. It was just more for collectability. I do love the fact that it utilizes the Kiss solo album art concept Eric Carr was never able to do a solo album. He wasn't in the band at the time. Those were in 1978. He joined in 1980. The poster is inside, and there's a theme, and it's just like the posters that they put in the original Kiss solo album. So it's a cool collection. The music itself, though, is just, I mean, it's okay. It's basically demos of songs that were Bruce Kulick, Eric Carr, and this guy Adam Mitchell, who Adam Mitchell has been a co-writer for Kiss, and he was friends with Eric Carr back in the day. Two records are from bands that I saw in concert and picked up from them at the merch table. This one here is from a Chicago band called Doomflower. I caught these guys not too long ago opening for Neva Denova. That's an Omaha band, or well, I don't know. Are they still an Omaha band? I mean, the main guy doesn't live in Omaha anymore. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I caught them opening for Neva Denova. I thought they were really, really good. Kind of sparse, minimal, indie rock with a woman singer. I went over to the booth afterwards. I thought they were from Omaha, so, I mean, I wasn't trying to, like, act all cool and throw out the fact that I'm on the radio, but I thought they would have known, so I said, oh, hey, I'm Dave from New Day Rising or whatever, and I want to buy your album, but I was wondering if you could make sure I get a digital download of it so I can play it on the radio. And I was talking to, I think, the bass player, who I think had kind of buzzed, you know, no big deal because it's a rock show, dudes, and people were in the middle of a rock show. That's not me being judgmental. I'm just saying, I think he was a little buzzed and was a little confused about what I was asking, because I was legit saying, I'm going to buy your album on vinyl, and then I want to see if you can get me some digital MP3s so I can play it on the radio. And whatever. Bottom line is, I sent him an email about it. I don't know if he's going to actually remember, but the album is pretty cool. So there's Doomflower. You may or may not be hearing that on my radio show in the future. I don't know. Next up is the album No Past, No Future from Spacemoth. This is a San Francisco group I caught recently opening for Speedy Ortiz. I did reference it in the review video that I did for that show, but because I wasn't actually on camera in that one, I can't really technically say I showed you the album. Packaging is cool. It's real trippy and stuff. Clear vinyl. And these guys are amazing. I loved this band when I saw them. I mean, the album is great. I've listened to it now a bunch of times. Definitely for fans of Stereolab or Broadcast, but those are just the obvious influences. There's a lot of others, and it's exceptionally good. I'm looking forward to hearing more stuff from Spacemoth. That's actually from 2022. Okay, I hit up 402 Vinyl, which is another store in my area. It's not super close to me. It's in Bellevue, Nebraska, which isn't that far, but it's in an abandoned strip mall, and it's in an abandoned mall. And so I'm not really in that area very often, but I did make a trip there, got these next couple of records from there. This first one here is Neil Young, Rust Never Sleeps. Now, this is important that I grabbed it. I've heard this album a million times. It's one of Neil's biggest records, but I always get this album confused with Live Rust. Because this looks like a live album, right? I mean, it's them on stage. The back is the road cases, okay? And the next album was called Live Rust, which was an actual live album. Now, this album is sort of live because if you read the credits and stuff, they did record it in front of an audience, and then they took it in the studio and like overdubbed over it for some reason. So it's like some bizarre technique that Neil was experimenting with at the time. Side 1 is acoustic, side 2 is electric. It's great stuff. This is the reason why people know Neil Young to begin with. I always I always liked this, and I always had a soft spot for this particular record from Neil Young, because this was really my introduction to him, I would say. I'd heard Neil Young growing up on the radio. Classic rock radio in Omaha did play Neil Young when I was growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, so I did have a little bit of that coming into it. So I remember distinctly going to summer camp when I was probably 10 years old, so we're talking 1981, and I went away to summer camp somewhere in St. Louis, and my counselor in our bunk, is a bunk full of 10-year-olds, and then they had a teenager as the counselor, was really into Neil Young, and he used to play Neil Young tapes. And I remember thinking my counselor was pretty cool, so I kind of like, oh, well, Neil Young must be pretty cool. And I remember hearing Neil Young, and he was one of those dudes who always had an acoustic guitar. So, after the kids go to sleep and the counselors go off to meet and hang out and whatever, he always had his acoustic guitar and was playing Neil Young and stuff. So anyways, that was my thing about Neil Young. Now, this particular record is important because, I tried taking guitar lessons when I was a kid. For a couple years I tried, and I sucked. Okay, I just was not musically capable. Okay, some people have to recognize their limits, and that was mine. I could never figure out how to play songs, so in order for me to play like a popular song, someone would have to literally show me how it's done. And even then, when I would play it, it never really sounded that much like the records. I was always so frustrated, I didn't know anything about pedals. I didn't have any pedals. All I had was a guitar and an amp. Well, I had my guitar teacher teach me how to play Hey Hey My My Into the Black. That's a very easy riff, that okay, that one. I could actually play it, and if I turned all my knobs up to like 10 to kind of overdrive it, it would almost sound like it. So I could actually play a song and it sounded like it. That's the one song that I can actually play, and so that's kind of why maybe I'm more into this particular Neil Young album more than other Neil Young albums. Don't know, just a guess. This next one, I had all the tracks. It's Rolling Stones, right? La Grande Historia del Rock. It's kind of like that series from Spain, La Historia de la Música Rock. This is the Italian version, okay? It's a cool little gatefold. It actually sounds pretty good for being razor thin vinyl. I mean, it's so thin over in Italy, and I can't read the inside of it. I mean, it's got some cool pictures. I don't speak Italian. I'm pretty good with Spanish, and Spanish and Italian are similar, but still trying to figure out what that says was just it was a tough one. But anyways, cool one. And actually, when I played it, it sounded really good. I was happy with this. This one was a mistake. Okay, it was Greenpeace. Okay, now I saw it and I thought, oh man, this must be a soundtrack to like some famous Greenpeace concert, with all these bands. And I look on the back and it's like, oh, Peter Gabriel, man, Queen, Thomas Dolby, Kate Bush, Tears for Fears, The Pretenders, Madness, Nick Kershaw, George Harrison, Depeche Mode, all these. I was like, wow, this is cool. I didn't even look at it. I just grabbed it, put it on my stack, and then took it home. And when I put it on, I realized those are just the studio tracks from all those people. So anyways, at the time, I guess if you bought this, the money went towards Greenpeace. Now it went towards the guy at 402 Vinyl. Okay, and the last thing I bought on that trip was Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. I've never owned this album, never bought it. I've never heard an Amy Winehouse song other than Rehab ever in my life. You know what? Why not? I'll give it a try, and I kind of liked it. It was much better than I expected it to be. Rehab is definitely the best song on here, but there were some other good ones too, in the Me and Mr. Jones, which is kind of a take on that old R&B song, Me and Mrs. Jones. This cover also, by the way, if anyone in the comments knows why this cover is different than most of the ones when I was looking it up on Discogs and Google and stuff, like it didn't look like this. Anyone know? Okay, and these last couple of records were all pickups from a pop-up record show that I went to recently. I did see a couple of vinyl community people there, just FYI, in this tiny little room in the back of a bar. But I picked up a lot of great stuff. The first thing is this Delbert McClinton thing called Wake Up Baby. Now, I only got it because on my number one album of 2023, the album by Juniper, they cover 4 different Delbert McClinton songs, and I'd never heard of any of the originals and completely unfamiliar with his music. So this one has It's Over, which they do a cover on it, and I'm like, okay, well, that was pretty good. I mean, I want to hear that. I want to hear some of the rest of the stuff. And so that's why I picked it up. And it was pretty good. I mean, I've had it in my head that Delbert McClinton was a country artist, and he's not really. He's more just like old rock and roll. But okay, and this next one is Fallen Angel by Uriah Heep. I am still on the quest to find a Uriah Heep record that I like. This is probably the 4th or 5th one, and I'm hanging in there. I keep trying. This may be the one, though. I'll be honest with you. This may be the one. I kind of like this one. Mostly what happens when I listen to Uriah Heep is I know they're part of the foundation of heavy metal, right? Along with Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, there's Uriah Heep. They were right there. Zeppelin, whatever. But every time I hear Uriah Heep, when I hear their earlier stuff, they sound like hippies. And then when I hear the later stuff, they sound like an AOR band. And so I'm always like, well, where's the real heavy stuff? Like, where's the Deep Purple, Black Sabbath-esque stuff, and I don't seem to be finding it. This one, I read up a little bit. I know this is the singer on this record's last album that he did, and they were like easing into AOR music. But whatever, they hadn't eased in there yet, and I kind of liked it. So anyways, Fallen Angel, maybe this is the Uriah Heep record that I find out that I like. I think I might have to come to terms with the fact that I may be a Bob Seger fan now, okay? I got this Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band live Bullet record, and for $5 for a double album, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I've never really hated Bob Seger. It's just that, like, I did grow up hearing him on the radio all the time, and I always thought he was okay, but then when I started really creating my own taste in music, and I started buying records, that was into the 80s, and Seger was already kind of like weak at that point. But man, this is 1975, and his band was smoking. They were really, really good. Live Bullet, damn. The Who, It's Hard. I finally picked up a copy of this on vinyl. This was supposed to be The Who's final album. They did break up after this, but then of course they got back together. I'm a lot more sympathetic towards the Kenny Jones era of The Who than many other fans are. In fact, I think the album Face Dances is among their best ever. Now, I don't think this one is nearly as good as Face Dances, but Eminence Front is as good a song as any Who song. I would rank that in the top 5 best Who songs. I initially didn't buy this album, even though I bought the Athena 7-inch when it came out, okay, in 1982. I think I was 11 or 12 when it came out. I bought the Athena 7-inch, but then I saw the video for Eminence Front on MTV. I thought it was a cool video, but then I heard that version wasn't the same version on the album, and then my 12-year-old mind, I was annoyed by that, and like, why can't I buy the version from the video? Like, I'm not buying the album, fuck that. And for some reason, my little 12-year-old mind was outraged by that whole concept, so I never bought it. And the final record I'm going to show you guys I picked up at that convention is just a vinyl copy of One on One. Maybe my favorite Cheap Trick record, absolutely my favorite of the 80s. From 1982, the first album to feature this guy, John Brandt, on bass, who replaced Tom Peterson. Great album, extremely rocking. Not a bad song on it. I mean, just exceptional. The hits off this one, If You Want My Love and She's Tight, both excellent, excellent, excellent tracks. All right, folks, that's the end of this one. Happy hunting in the next couple of months. That's next time I'll be back with another vinyl update video, okay?
So, you have a MySpace page or something?